Wars Transformers. The Death Star has the firepower to destroy entire planets. And now another top secret weapon you've never seen before. The Star Wars Darth Vader Death Star with a light-up super laser. But this Death Star has Transformers technology.
Star Wars and Transformers. What awesome ideas. These were both iconic 80s sci-fi properties that also saw movie releases in the late 2000s, cementing their popularity in the hearts and minds of children across generations. Every kid back then grew up seeing Lear-class Optimus Prime right next to the extending lightsabers at Toys R Us. I was raised on watching Special Edition Return of the Jedi and Transformers Armada DVDs on my family road trips. Both of these franchises shared so much spotlight that they seemed destined for each other. And for a brief moment, a long time ago, and also a few months ago, in a galaxy far, far away, we saw the combination of two stellar properties. Star Wars crossing over with Transformers is one of those mystical ideas that just makes sense on paper. But interestingly, the original Transformers Star Wars line was short-lived. We didn't even get to see any new figures for the sequel trilogy or the rise of Disney+. Nothing until February of this year. So, what makes this idea so tantalizing but also so limited? Well, I think it's worth looking at two figures that are a part of the same idea, split apart by 2 decades. 2007's Supreme-class Darth Vader and 2025's Voyager-class Mandalorian. I'll take a look at them, and I'll find what makes this idea so limited, but cool all the same. To quote Anakin Skywalker, I don't like sand. Wait, wrong quote. My bad. Released in 2007, Star Wars Transformers Supreme-class Darth Vader is a figure inspired by the Dark Lord of the Sith himself, Darth Vader, the mechanical fallen Jedi in the lore of these toys given a transforming mech suit that he could use to crush rebel scum. $5 to whoever can guess what this turns into. Yeah, the most iconic villain in all of Star Wars is going to turn into the Death Star. It's a little weird given that it's more Palpatine's weapon, but I mean, it's fine. Right away, you feel a sense of domineering presence. Kinda. Looking at the main body, you do see Vader, all black with hints of silver and red, showing mechanical detail that doesn't directly rip off the classic look, but instead becomes more grievously, which makes sense given the lore that we have. Vader is on life support, not his giant mechanical death robot. The center holds a giant hole in the chest, evoking the Death Star laser itself, which has a very neat gimmick, which I'll get to later. But having the most iconic part of the Death Star be a part of Vader is oddly thematic given the tragedy of Anakin Skywalker that his mech has a big hole where his heart should be. The helmet is probably my favorite part of the whole thing. It isn't just a standard Vader head. It's more angular with battle damage on the back. And, you know, for as iconic as the Vader helmet is, I really appreciate that they essentially transformerized it. I think that this is where the crossover figures shine their best, when they take character details you know and change them to be transformery with hints of the original design. So yeah, I am feeling the dark side of the Force here. However, the kibble, it's just awful. Okay, there's no hiding it. This is where all the problems of the crossover line jump in. Every vehicle in Star Wars is the most wacky shaped thing in the galaxy. Darth Vader is comparatively normal for turning into a sphere, and even then, as soon as you look at the kibble, it looks bad. The idea of all these pieces of the Death Star moving to make room for Vader is kind of groovy, but look at the shackles on the thighs. Look at the panels just hanging off the arms and the legs, which can fall off, by the way. And the backpack. Look at that backpack. I do like the shoulder pauldrons and the bits hanging off the back behind the shoulders, just because it reminds me of the samurai aesthetics of Vader, but still, this is what every toy from this era of the crossover fell victim to. A crazy vehicle, which in turn causes the robot mode to suffer. Not just in design either. Vader has slight head rotation, arms and legs are less than 45 degrees, he has a limited waist. I mean, kind of a toe pivot. It's hard because this toy is supposed to just be a giant death bot that turns into a giant death ball. And Vader is not exactly acrobatic.
You underestimate my power!
At the expense of being an apologist, while the posing is weak, Vader's unmatched aura does work to make this figure work. But when posing him, be careful not to choke on your aspirations, because pieces can fall off and the robot can fall down. Accessories feel necessary, but are also kind of worthless. You get 3 rice grain sized stormtroopers and a Darth Vader, which are cute, but also don't really do anything with either mode.
I am your father.
Same for these 3 TIE fighters. Really quaint, but they're not in scale. But they also can't really be in scale because you'd lose them, but you'd also lose these figures. They even have dedicated hiding spots in the robot mode, so like, why have them at all? There's also a blaster that shoots a green missile that I don't have. The missile is cool, but when did Vader ever use a blaster? Can you even see Vader using a blaster? This ain't Fortnite. He also has a lightsaber and a cape. Okay, these ones rule. The lightsaber can light up with a button on the arm being pressed. And the cape is an actual cloth fabric. It doesn't exactly hide the kibble, but it does give Vader a more complete look. You also get lights, sounds, and a voice fonts. From my point of view, this is the coolest thing about the figure.
I find your lack of faith disturbing. Join me on the dark side. The rebels must not escape.
Yo, dudes, the Empire's pretty chill. Maybe you could, like, join it or something.
I will not sugarcoat it. The transformation is awful. It's a lot of adjustments and creaking stuff around to crumple Vader into a low ball. I always find it impressive when a robot turns into a sphere because you do see moves that aren't on a car transformer, but...
Right, unfiltered Rob the Puppet here. Just to give you a sense of how frustrating this is, I'm already basically finished, but all of these panels here have to coalesce and combine together to make sure that the ball is not looking like it's about to, you know. That is easier said than done. I am like 10 minutes into transforming this thing. It is so close, but flaps and stuff keep on falling off and don't want to tap in. That you get a panel and you want to close it up, it just pops out another panel. It's just so...
Yeah, this is bad. However, the Death Star mode does look good. It's always been a bit funny to me that we have such a very finicky transformation to make a sphere, which on paper is a really simple shape. The design is of course very simplified, but it does a good job of replicating the greebling the original had. The panel lines are somewhat less noticeable than you would think until they start to separate.
Yes, was about to close the final panel and it pushed everything else out of the way.
But to be fair, $1,000 Transformer planets have this exact same problem.
That stays, but this ain't plugged in. So why?
And it has a built-in stand for the Death Star so it doesn't accidentally roll off the shelf.
Nice run!
And not only that, you will find that this Death Star is fully armed and operational. I could light up and shoot the missile that I do not have, but even without it, the light and the sounds are the coolest thing about this mode. Come on, it's a Death Star that does the thing it's known for. Overall, this figure is more of a display piece than a toy. The posing is limited, the transformation is scruffy, and the accessories could be a bit much, but also not enough. But the actual design of the robot is just so wizard. The vehicle mode does look good when properly tapped together, and the light and sound gimmicks are just the coolest thing about this. Also, it's Vader and the Death Star. I don't care how lame this toy is at times, the fact that we have a figure where the most famous villain in modern movie history turns into a moon-sized death laser justifies this toy's existence. And I do think this is the best of the 2000s Transformers Star Wars crossover line. Search your feelings. You know it to be true.
Copyright music. Hello there. So, the original plan was that I was going to cover 2 figures in one video. However, because of that stupid ball with a stupid transformation, I'm going to postpone the Mandalorian segment into another video for next week. I just want to have a nice, fresh set of eyes, free of rage and anger and frustration when I cover that figure, because that is a good figure. If you like this video, please make sure to like and subscribe, of course. Make sure to have notifications ready for when the next video comes out. If not, it's chill. That'd be kind of appreciated. So yeah, in the words of Luke Skywalker, may the force be with you and with your spirit and all that jazz. Hey, when did we get a second name?